Artful Innovations, the TV program that looks at art from an innovative perspective with views from around the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artful Innovations. I'm Denise, your host, and I'm sitting here today with the beautiful and wonderful artist, Monica Boxley, whose work spans jewelry, textiles, and painting. During the COVID-19 lockdown, she became a catalyst for artistic evolution as she engaged in daily drawing and painting sessions. And with that, I welcome to today's show, Monica Boxley. Hi, Monica. It is definitely a pleasure to have you with us today.
Hi, Denise. It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much.
And thank you, thank you. I have had the opportunity, the blessed and fortunate opportunity to see a video of you, to look at some of your wonderful work, and I am just a fan. Let me say that right off the bat. I am a fan of your work. I just think that you are marvelous, and I am going to give our audience today a treat and let them get to meet you and to see what you do and hear from you about your amazing career as an artist. So let's start out by you telling us you began your career as a teacher, which was unrelated to art, but tell us about that and how you eventually transitioned into the art world.
Okay, well, my journey's been quite a long, interesting one from training as a teacher in the late 1970s, becoming a teacher of children new to English and loving that really. So a lot of asylum seekers, children with no English at all, coming into secondary school and needing visuals really to help them access the curriculum. So I loved that. I loved working across the curriculum with different teachers, different subjects, and it was something sort of outside the mainstream curriculum. I wasn't a mainstream teacher, so I really loved that. And where possible, I did also work in art departments, helping the children with the language of art. So I've kind of, as I was doing that, feeling I wanted to do something more and more creative for myself. And I was feeling a bit frustrated. I didn't know really where to begin. I hadn't had any background in art. I'd never been to art school, never done any GCSEs or O levels even in art. And never had really the encouragement to become an artist. And so I didn't feel like I could be an artist. I didn't really understand what is an artist and how would you even get into that world, you know? So it seemed a very, very separate world from the world that I was inhabiting as a teacher. And then I got the opportunity to do a jewellery BTEC. So I had a year where I left my teaching job. I was gratefully supported, luckily supported by my husband at the time. And we had two young, not young children, but primary age children, so elementary school age children. And I went to college. It was part-time, so I was around a fair bit. But there I started to have to draw. So I had to draw designs for my jewellery. I had to come up with ideas. I had to go to galleries and look at other people's work. I had to describe my work in drawing. And I had to do a bit of art history as well. And more I grew to love the world of art and painting and mixed media. And I think always being drawn to 3D. So jewellery was a really good way of getting into 3D. And I had, up to that point, been making some jewellery, but with very unprecious materials, but always quite colourful. Colourful beads, colourful plastics, colourful resins, working with my hands, but not with chemicals or with blowtorches or with anything that might need special equipment or a studio. So I had a studio space, but I was just using very unprecious materials. And people were buying the jewellery. So that was lovely. And I was feeling encouraged in that respect. Doing the jewellery course, the BTEC, I learned to use a blowtorch to heat and form metals. I learned to texture the metals, the silver, through rolling mills with all sorts of different materials that would press into the silver sheet and come out looking amazing, like the texture or the shapes on an armadillo, or the texture and shapes on a tortoise, or something like that. So you could create and emulate natural patterns by pressing all sorts of things into the metal after you've heated it to soften it. And so I made collections of earrings, jewellery and necklaces, bracelets, all sorts, and started to sell my work quite successfully to galleries in the UK and some abroad. And then that went on for a few years. And then by chance, I met somebody who introduced me to the world of handbags. And at the same time, I'd found a photo of my mother with her handbag. And with this idea of a handbag in mind, an old vintage clasp handbag, I decided to try to recreate that handbag in a modern, more contemporary way. So each handbag had a spotty lining. They were made in kind of bright jewel colours. They came in different sizes, and they were called the Mariana handbag after my mother. And my mother had always been a very important influence in my life. She was very creative, so it felt very natural to start making the handbags. And I found a workshop in the East End in London that could make those bags for me. So that all went very well. I sourced the leather in London. The leather mostly came from Italy. The handbag frames, the clasps were made in Homerton in East London, and the whole thing came together as if it were meant to be. And so that took me on a kind of sideways journey. While I was making my jewellery, I also met Susan Stone, who became a good friend and is a good friend, and her background was in textiles. And she introduced me really to some fantastic teachers, textile teachers, who then started to influence me to use colour, to use inks and dyes and so many different materials on fabric.
I think through doing lots of short courses which inspire different aspects of what we do anyway, that gives us the confidence to kind of try and experiment with different materials and different ways of doing. And I think you've always been very good at that.
Yes, I think from going to college and having a grounding and having sort of knowledge of the right way of doing things, it's then a matter of going off and finding your own voice, taking something but making it totally your own.
And it does take time, doesn't it? It really takes time.
It's very much about sort of what if, and if I do this and sort of, oh, that's a big mistake. Yeah, but I like the mistake, and it's, you know, sort of then trying to work something from there. It's,
I think making mistakes is a big part of our learning, isn't it?
yes, yes.
So I started to not really know what I wanted to do, and it can be a bit overwhelming. I think because I'm so interested in processes and materials, I can feel somewhat overwhelmed. So every now and again, I have to kind of step back and decide, what is it I want to really do? So I've let the jewellery go. The handbags automatically stopped after about 10 years. The family gave up their business, the ones who were making the bags for me. So that had a natural ending, and those bags are now still quite collectible. So if you're lucky enough to have a Mariana bag, hang on to it. There is somebody who has 17 of these bags, so she could perhaps start a little exhibition at some point. It's been a real joy. In the studios where I'm based, which is in West London. We are up to 34 people, artists, when we're full. So I've been there as a jeweler, more recently as a textile artist, and then now more into doing mixed media artwork. So wanting to combine what I've done on textiles, but more into wall work. And I know that textiles can be hangings, and they've also been clothing for me. So I have created cloth that's become clothing, and I've sold shirts and jackets, scarves, so many different things that people can adorn themselves in. I now want to create pieces that can hang on the wall as well.
Wow, it just sounds like you have been inspired by a variety of things and not any particular thing when it comes to your artwork.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, the world around me definitely inspires me. Where, you know, nature, people, faces, textures, all sorts of things can trigger something that reacts with me to either make me want to create a piece in response to that. So I am influenced by lots of different people's work. I love lots of different artists' work. Some of those are the sort of expected ones, like David Hockney, Francis Bacon. I really like Paula
Wow.
Rego. And I love Lubaina Hamid's work, which I've seen fairly recently at the Tate. I really like storytellers. I like artists that have a narrative, that are either telling a story about themselves, and my work has often been about myself, or my family, or something to do with my history. Color,
Yes.
I'm drawn to colorful work. I'm drawn, but not always, because I love Anselm Kiefer's work, and Anselm Kiefer's work can be very dark and it's very textural, but it's also very monochrome or earthy colors that depict destruction and sadness and loss. So those things I can have quite a visceral reaction to. And so although I love color and my work can be very colorful, it isn't always very colorful. But I think my bags, my jewelry, and my mixed media work have kind of given me that kind of label, if I can say a label, for
Sure.
color, loving color, because color has always been an integral part of my work.
So, basically, then I guess your work really can really be categorized because it's just so many parts to it, and so many different things about it that make it so unique. So, what is it? Is it a category that you can actually place your work into?
I really don't like that idea of being categorized. I can see that there have been obviously very many movements of art during history, through history in the last decades and in the last centuries, but I prefer to be looser and not in a box, not be so defined,
I
but be
like
able
that.
freedom, yeah, have the freedom to express in a way that I choose. Maybe it becomes more understandable for others to categorize me in a way. They might say that I'm, you know, yeah, mixed media artist, or they might say that my work is a bit abstract expressionist. They may want to label me, but I think that's not easy, because my work is always changing, moving, flowing, being moved on in some way or other.
That is, I love that. That it just because it just doesn't box in. It just, the possibilities are unlimited. And I really do love that concept. So as an artist, I'm sure that your work has allowed you to travel to amazing places, galleries, to promote your work or things like that. So tell me a little bit about your travels and the people that you have come in contact with, the artists, the different types of artwork that you come in contact with. I just want to know about you and your travels, because to me, artists just live some amazing lives. To be engulfed around these amazing people and amazing scenery, just is like a life that I can envy. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I've been very lucky that I'm able to travel. I tend to go when it's cold here in the winter in the UK. That's when I'm off. So I tend to go January, February, March to Asia. So far it's been to Asia. And I've spent a fair bit of time in Vietnam and in India, and then more recently in Sri Lanka. I'm very interested in those three countries, and I have met up with artists in all of them. In Vietnam, I was able to run a few workshops quite spontaneously. I'd taken some of my screens, my screens for printing with, and I'd taken some of my inks, and I was able to do some spontaneous workshops in a bamboo paper making studio, but in the garden. So when people came in to see that studio or have a coffee, they could come into the garden and do some work with me. In India, again, I've done some printing and drawing and a workshop a couple of years ago, no, last year, while the Cochin Biennale was going on. So there's a fantastic art biennale in Cochin, which will be on again this year from December till I think March or April 2025. And some people I knew had a shop there, a kind of pop-up shop, and in that shop we did some workshops as well, inviting anybody to come and do painting, printing, collage, work with what we had. And that was really, really nice. And it was a way of being together and getting to know each other. And yeah, so that's been special. And of course, we still stay connected through social media. And then in Sri Lanka, which has been my kind of go-to place in the last 4 years, so since 2020, I have had the luck to meet and the privilege to meet this amazing 84-year-old batik artist called Jesma Mohammed, who lives in southern Sri Lanka and has been a batik artist for 40 years. And is very well known within her local area, but not so much in the wide world. And although she has friends and family all over the world, I am wanting to host her here in the UK in this October. I want to host an exhibition of her work at my studio gallery, so 3rd to the 14th of October. We're just waiting on visas and that kind of bureaucracy as to whether or not they can come, but that's the plan. So I would like to, celebrate her incredible knowledge, her incredible talent, and she has taught me and some of my friends so much. So when I was there this year, I took some people with me from the UK. And we did our own workshop there over 10 days, and it was a sheer joy. So I'm wearing one piece that I did work on there, and this was a white shirt that I took with me that I didn't particularly like, that I didn't really wear very much. So I thought I'm going to do something with it while I'm there. And you may be able to see that it has some yellow and some white and green in it. So when you are dyeing with the wax is put onto the white initially, which will maintain any piece that still remains white at the end. So you're working with hot wax, you're painting it on, you paint it with a brush, or to get a finer line, you paint it with a stick with some copper wire wound round the end of the stick that forms a nib. And then that nib holds some of the hot wax, and you draw with that. And then when that is dry, you can put it in the first color. So the first color, you start with the lightest color, is yellow. So we put it in yellow, and then of course the whole shirt is yellow with some bits of wax. You leave it to dry, then you put more hot wax on, and you go into the green dye. So when the wax is dry, it goes into the green dye. And so every bit of green you see on this shirt is from that layer. And then you leave that to dry. Then you mask out everything that you want to remain, and you put it in black. So the bits of green that I wanted to remain, I then covered over those. I don't know how much you can see, but these green pieces, and then it goes in the black at the end. And when it comes out of that, it can then be boiled to get all of the wax out again. So they put it in a kind of boiling cauldron. The wax melts again, goes back into the water. The shirt comes out, gets dried in the sun, and is then, when it's dry, wearable. And the wax gets recycled. And when the water is cold, it hardens, and you can use it, reuse it. So it's fascinating. Yeah, the dyeing to me is alchemy, because it's a bit hocus pocus, a bit of this, a bit of that, to get the right colors. So they are so experienced, they know what they're doing with the color.
That is amazing. How long did it take you to do that?
It actually doesn't take you very long because it's so hot there. As long as the fabric can dry in between layers, that's how long it can take. So the painting on of the wax, yeah, that can take, but maybe an hour for each layer. So we're talking, you know, in a day, you can transform something very easily, and make amazing cloth, scarves, and clothing. And
That
so
is
I did bring some of Jesima's clothing back to the UK to sell. She makes kimonos and they're stunning. So I sold some of those for her. And then I was able to go back the next year, give her some money, and bring back the ones I hadn't sold. And together we were making more pieces. So it's just sheer joy to have that connection there in Sri Lanka. And for me, it's usually the people that draw me back. I do love the environment and the nature and the animals. I love the fact that you can see a huge lizard crossing the road, a Komodo dragon or something crossing a road, and apparently their shadows so strong that even a car could go over it and not damage it. They are incredible. Yeah, it's amazing. So I feel very much alive when I'm in that kind of tropical environment. And I think it suits me. I find the humidity hard, but it's so inspirational. So when I go, I take with me anything I can that is easy to transport. So obviously sketchbooks, maybe some inks, maybe some watercolors, brushes, pencils, pens. That's it really. And then I try to buy some local things when I'm there. And then I often leave some things there for another time, either for somebody else to use or for me when I come back next year.
You are super creative. I mean, and talented. This is amazing to me. I just love it. So I'm looking at those pieces behind you, and I know this is some of your work. Do you have anything that maybe you can hold up and let us see? Or
Yeah, so I wanted to show you actually these pieces that I have here. Now there is a slight reflection probably from the light, but these are pieces that I made about my family. So they are screen printed using from photographs, from old photographs using screens. So they have been screen printed onto fabric using multiple screens and also a few mark making techniques. And they are layered, and they could form a wall hanging, or they could even be the back of a jacket if you so choose, or they could become a big cushion. Or, you know, these fabrics are so good at, so versatile. This is another one. So this is my mother at the top. I guess it's a bit of a nod to Andy Warhol. And at the bottom, there are my grandparents sitting in deck chairs. My grandmother is knitting with a friend. They're fully clothed. They're sitting by the beach. And this is probably in the 1940s, late 1940s. So it just amuses me really that they would go to the seaside, sit in deck chairs, be fully clothed and be knitting. I do like a bit of humour in my work if I can bring it in. Yeah.
That is amazing work.
Thank
Oh
you.
my goodness. I love, love, love that. You know, I was thinking as, you know, just looking as you were talking and just looking at the work that you've done, just makes me think about a world, our world. Well, you know, I think about a world without music. I cannot imagine our world without music. And in that same regard, I can't imagine a world without art, you know,
Mm.
because it tells the history of humanity. It tells the history of who we are and how we came to be. Do you agree with that? I mean, it's just such a
Totally.
profound thing.
Totally. Absolutely. And you know, to have no music or no art to kind of express what you're feeling, what's very visceral or very passionate within you as an artist would be a very
Yes.
sad thing, let alone for the viewers or the, you know, the listeners, not to have that as a stimulus or as
Mm,
you know, something to listen to, something to see, something to have around them, something to have in their home and
yes.
surround themselves with. These are all very stimulating things, and without those things, it would be a very, very dull place. So, you know, art and music are often used to tell stories, narratives, to tell about the world around us, about our histories, about sadness, about
Yes.
happiness, about
Yes.
problems, about amazing, you know, a lot of it could be fantastical. That's not my style, but you know, there's so many different types of art and types of music. There's something for everybody out there. And if that didn't exist, I think it would be a very sad world. Yeah.
And you know, Monica, and you're just thinking about earlier in the conversation when you talked about, you know, you started out, you know, working in school and education. And I too have worked in education. And, you know, unfortunately, two of the biggest cuts, at least where I am, two of the biggest cuts that we take in our education in schools now is in art and music.
Absolutely. It's
Those
here
are two
to
of the cuts, you know,
I
and
know.
it's sad because you know you're taking away two of the things that some children probably have looked forward to be, you know, doing for, you know, pursuing that path in life, becoming an artist or becoming a person, you know, involved in music somehow, whether they're singing or playing an instrument, you know, or even being part of an orchestra or something, who knows? But, you know, when you come to those particular programs, I think that hurts a lot. And the choice, and it limits the choices that our young people have, you know, to pursue.
Yeah, I think there are. I think if you want it, it's out there. And I think if you have talent, you will express it, even if it's not available to you perhaps in school. That will
That's
do it.
true.
You'll find it. You'll find it outside school, or it will come to you. Either you will find it, or it will come to you. And that's probably the way it worked for me, because I didn't do art in school, and I didn't properly pick up pencil or paint till about 8 years ago after leaving school, and I'm in my late 60s now. So you know, it's a long time without doing anything like that.
Yes, it's
I
true.
think for me, I've been very lucky, and I've had those opportunities that have come along, and it's been a lot through chance. And I would say that that has been my main way of getting where I am, has been through chance meetings and through opportunities that I've taken. I think opportunities can present themselves, you don't always take them. Fear can be a factor, or, I think even when I've done some courses online with art teachers and therapists, and they talk about, the white page and how scary that is, and, the white
Yes.
canvas. And I think you just have to go for it, and you just have to cover the canvas with something, with anything, and make marks, and anybody can develop their work and call themselves an artist. And I think it's about doing the work, it's about expressing yourself, it's about having the freedom and the confidence to do that. And that comes with time. It's not easy necessarily, it's quite hard work. Not everyone's going to encourage you, not everyone's going to even like what you're doing, but I think
That's right.
you have to do what you believe in, and just keep at it.
And we thank you for joining us here today and sharing with us and allowing us a peek into your world. It's definitely been a joy to do that.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a sheer joy for me too. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. And to our viewing audience, we thank you also. And I want everybody to remember this one thing as you go about your day, your week, your weekend, your year. Remember that if you're breathing, there's always time. So go make something good happen for yourself. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Bye now.